I'm going to talk into her microphone. I have not been back to Zaragoza in 33 years, and when I was a kid, I did not listen to my teachers when they were teaching me. So I'm back now to learn about my old place and to help you learn about the city that I love, Zaragoza. Okay? Vamos a empezar.
So, hi, my name is Leire, and she's Blanca, and we are tour guides in Zaragoza. We've been born here, and well, we are going to show you around a little bit. So now we are inside of the Basilica, and this is one of the most important points in the Basilica because this is the main altar. This is where the magic happens, kind of. So this is Renaissance. A lot of people don't know that Zaragoza has a lot of Renaissance monuments, and one of the best altar pieces from the Renaissance period we have here. This is from the beginning of the 16th century, when Zaragoza was called the Florence of Spain, because it was very rich and very wealthy. So this, even though it looks a stone, is not exactly a stone. This is alabaster, because in Zaragoza we don't have a stone. So the author of this altar piece is called Damián Forment. He was a guy from Valencia, and when he arrived in Zaragoza, he arrived in a really specific moment, and a very specific moment of rivalry. Because this, even though now we call it the Basílica Cathedral of Our Lady of the Pilar, in Spanish, Basílica Catedral de Nuestra Señora del Pilar, at the time it was not a cathedral, it was only a church. The Cathedral of Zaragoza was the other one, the Cathedral of the Savior, but this one wanted to be the cathedral, the main one. So there was this rivalry, and we know that they tried to outdo the other one all the time. So I have bigger towers, so I have a better altarpiece, I have this that is richer and stuff like that. So at the beginning of the 16th century, they told Damián Forment, go to the cathedral and make an altarpiece that is like that one, but better. So it's kind of silly because even though this is Renaissance, when you look at the structure, all the structure is Gothic, which also in Zaragoza is weird. We don't have Gothic, almost. But here we have Gothic completely out of time. But it's a mixture, so yeah, it's an interesting altarpiece. So now we are, well, I said it already, but this is probably the most famous part of the Basilica. This is where Our Lady of the Pilar, La Virgen del Pilar, is. She's the patron saint of Zaragoza, and she's the patron saint since the 17th century, but this figure has been around from for the longest time. So this is actually the best angle to see it, because there's something very odd about it, and it's the fact that even though it's the main image, it's not in the middle of the cathedral. This is something that can make you feel very anxious, because you're trying to find where she is, and she's right on the right of the main chapel. But yeah, so let me tell you a little bit about this history about Our Lady of the Pilar. We have to go back to the Roman times, to the year 40 after Christ. The tradition says that Saint James, we call it Santiago, came to Zaragoza, to this city, to convert people to Christianity. And he wasn't really successful. He only converted 7 people, which is a handful. He wasn't very happy about it, and the tradition says that before his travels, Saint Mary herself told him, when your faith is feeling shaky, don't worry, because you are going to receive some kind of signal. But they didn't know which signal or what's going to happen. So suddenly, January the 2nd, really important day of year 40, he heard some singing. When they went to the source of the singing, they found out that there she was, Saint Mary herself, on top of a column, a pillar, and surrounded by angels. So this is why we call it Our Lady of the Pilar, which is very silly because people here, women, are called literally columns. When you think about it, because Pilar is a really common name here, Maria del Pilar, etc. So yeah, Mary told 2 things to Santiago. The first one is to build her a church, which, well, obviously. And the second one is really important, and it's the main reason why it's not in the middle. You cannot move the pillar. The pillar has to stay on its place. So that's why. It's supposed to be the same pillar. It's supposed to be a Roman column of about 1.75 meters centimeters, about this wide. You have to believe this is a question of faith. So it's supposed to be the same one, made in the same material of the chapel, pink jasper. A very specific material that we do not have around at all. So yeah.
If you go inside, you are gonna see a big image of the Lady of the Pilar, and she's looking at the right, and there you are gonna see 8 men, St. James and the 7 people that he converted. And in the other side, the Virgin is pointing the pillar. She's telling St. James, don't look at me, look at the pillar, that it's the present that I bring here to you. But you can see that inside.
Because this is really important. People here pray to the column, not the Virgin, which is a really interesting concept because, to pray to inanimate objects, to Christians, is a shaky thing. But Catholicism is different. It's different. So that's why Catholic people pray to statues most. But here, you're supposed to be praying to the pillar because it's the same column, is the main relic. So you put a Virgin on top of it, so it is not weird. But it's supposed to be the thing that people pray to and love and touch and kiss and they are really devout because she brought it herself.
Today sea is very luxurious, and that's why everybody's like taking pictures, even people from Zaragoza.
So now we're going to a really special thing inside of this temple. As you can see, there's a line. There's a line here, and people, they are doing something really traditional. What they're doing is essentially kissing and touching the pillar, because from the front you cannot see it. It's always covered. It's always covered by a layer of bronze and then a layer of silver, and then the mantle. But there's a point when you can touch it and you can kiss it if you want to, and there's that. In Spanish, this is called humilladero. Humilladero literally means the humbling place. Yeah, the humble place, the place where you humble before the column, and people kiss it. And something really interesting is that it's severely worn down. People touch it.
7 centimeters.
Yes, you can stick your hand there, and also the steps. The steps on the floor are really interesting because they are so worn down. Yeah.
Sounds like.
I always say that there's 3 protagonists in this temple. The first one is Mary. Okay, that's simple, that's easy to understand. The second one is Goya, which we are going to talk about. And the third one is time. Time for best and for worst. Because time is all around, and also in the construction of the temple, because it took such a long time. People always talk about Sagrada Familia in the terms of being so long, the construction, but this was worse. Because the beginning of this church that we are now, the Basilica, the cathedral, it began in the 17th century. And it took so long that the last 2 towers, the 2 that are next to the river, they were finished in the year 1961. Wow. So that would be what, 300 years or so?
Almost 280 years.
But you have to count the foundations. The foundations were 25 years. I think that's a really good piece of information for you. 25 years only to do the foundations. We are too close to the river. So and this is actually one of the biggest cathedrals in the world. This is the number 9.
Oh.
It's very big. So it would be around 8,400 meters of area. Has 4 towers of 95 meters tall each, almost, and then 11 domes.
You can put here inside 2 football
fields, like soccer team, the fields, soccer fields. So this basilica has interesting decorations. One of the most interesting one is probably this one, two bombs. Two bombs from the Spanish Civil War. So between 1936 and 1939, Spanish was in a civil war between the people that did the coup d'etat, that would be Franco, the general and later dictator Franco, and the Republic of Spain. So the beginning of this civil war, Zaragoza was actually one of the cities that surrendered the quickest, probably because it was such a military city. So after the surrendering of Zaragoza, something strange happened here. In August 3rd of 1936, 4 bombs were dropped in this area. One of them went into the river, 2 of them went inside of the basilica, and the 4th one into the plaza. None of them exploded. So this is kind of there's a controversy here, because at the time Franco himself said this is obviously a miracle of Our Lady of the Pilar because she's in our side. But the church never recognized it as such. The church never said this is an official miracle of Our Lady of the Pilar. And actually the only miracle that Our Lady has is the one that made this church be built. It's called the Miracle of Calanda, that happened in the year 1640. And it's essentially that a guy that lost a leg grew a leg, which is a miracle if you think about it. It's a really huge miracle. So yeah, it is a miracle. So there's an explanation why the bombs never went off. The first one is the pilots. The pilots, they were 2 anarchists from Catalonia, and they just stole a plane from Barcelona, and they make it into a bomber, and they came all the way here straight, and they dropped the bombs, but they were flying so low that they couldn't they're not going to get off. Why? Go off. Sorry, go off. So they never went off because they were dropped from about 200 meters, and they need at least 500. And the other reason is mainly because later on they discovered that they weren't really well put together, so they were never going to explode in the first place because they didn't have the exact charge that they needed. They weren't put together in the exact same order that they needed. So yeah, they are empty. Don't worry. And we have the holes. One is there, all the way up there. Also closed on top because when it rains, we will get wet. It does not happen. And the other one is actually kind of miraculous because it's in that vault in the corner. You see that it's like a broken circle in that dome. And this is interesting because, and that vault is from Goya's also. So yeah, that's the miracle stuff. Because a couple of centimeters and no Goya. Okay. So this is the other work that Goya did in this basilica, but this is actually earlier, because that one is from 1780 and this is from 1772. So he was only 26 years old, and even though at the time 26 sounds old, kind of old, it wasn't. He had been painting about 13 years only, because he came from a very humble family, so he only started to paint at 13. So 26 years old, this is kind of his big break. This is his first very big work. And this is called the Adoration of the Name of God. God, you have it in the triangle in the middle. It's in Hebrew, and it says Yahweh. So the thing is, Goya here, what he did was to go into a contest, because there was a contest to see who is going to paint this. And he was really unknown, young, and he wasn't even in Zaragoza at the time. He was in Rome studying how to paint al fresco. He sent the original drawings, and very oddly enough, he won. He won against people more famous, with a bigger name and everything. Why? Well, the rumor says that this because he was the only one from Zaragoza, and they didn't have to pay him rent, essentially, the rent money. But a win is a win. So he didn't take it too badly, and he did the job, and there you have it. Even though it's Goya's, it doesn't look really like a Goya, because, well, he was younger. And it's obviously a testimony that everyone starts somewhere, obviously, even if you have to copy other people at the time, because he's copying. So this is actually my territory, because I'm a historian, but I'm a historian of actually Rome history. So now, as you can guess, we are in front of something from the Roman times. This, as you can see, this is a Roman monument. Well, the ruins of a Roman monument. This would be the theater of Caesar Augusta, and that's the original name of the city. We have to go all the way back to the year 14 before Christ. In December 21, okay, that's the day they decided, with the winter solstice, they decided to found this city. There were 3 legions, ex-legions, okay? They were the 3 favorite legions of the first Roman emperor, Caesar Augustus. In Latin, you will say Caesar Augustus, which is actually the same name of the city, Caesar Augusta, because Zaragoza was the only city in the whole empire that had the full name of the emperor. Why a city here? Because of the river Ebro. The river Ebro is going to make this city very, very rich, because it's going to become a commercial city, really marketable. So there's going to be a river port, and this river port is going to take all of these different materials and products all the way around current Spain, at the time called Hispania. So what you're seeing actually is not the theater itself, it's the skeleton. What you're seeing here is Roman concrete, opus caementicum, okay? It's a mixture of sand, water, obviously, but also little rocks. And we recently discovered that if they are going to use salt water, really specific volcanic acid, to make the mixture to kind of not regenerate, but you know, when you have an open wound and the wound closes itself, the same idea. So that's why they are so sturdy, and apparently they last so long. This here is only a skeleton because we don't have a stone, and people are going to reuse the stone. The only ones that brought that